Are you being tricked to think that it's easier to join sync licensing than it is to get on a major record with, let's say, like a Drake or a Nicki Minaj? Let's talk about it. So in the past 3-4 years, there's been a huge upswing in the people who are more interested in getting their music placed on film, TV, and video games. While I personally think that's dope, even I'm one of those people who have recently kind of took to this idea or concept of not only just working with artists and studios, but also working on getting my original tracks and scores in films and TV. But the question was brought up, is it actually easier to get your music on TV? In short, no. Although there are a ton of resources available to get you started on your journey to get your music on film, TV, and video games, it doesn't make it any easier than it is to get a placement with, let's say, an artist like Drake, right? And I don't want you all to be misled to think that just because you can't land a major placement with one of your favorite artists, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to easily make that transition into sync licensing. I don't want you all to have that false idea. You're still going to have to work hard. In a lot of different situations, you might have to work a little bit harder because the competition is much steeper. And the reason why I say that is because the majority of the resources that are available when we're talking about landing a placement with your favorite artists are mainly geared towards hip hop. As you see on your screen here, a simple YouTube search of how to land a placement or something similar or something with similar wording, you're going to see that the majority of the resources available on YouTube are going to be how do you land your placement with your favorite rap artist or your favorite hip hop artist, right? So again, when we're having this conversation about is it easier to land your music on film and TV or is it easier to get a placement with Drake? If we're being honest as far as resources that are available to help you figure out what those opportunities look like, if I'm being honest, the answer to that question is a lot more nuanced than I think a lot of people are making it seem, right? Because there are so many different genres that you can possibly produce to get your music on film and TV, the scope is much bigger than it is to maybe working with your independent artists or your individual artists or your major record label artists, right? Again, you have genres like ambient music, you have cinematic music, you have trailer music, you have hip hop, you have tension cues, you have dramedy cues, you have piano music, felt piano music, you have horror music, you have straight video game type weird sounding type music or whatever. You have pop music, you have funk, you have 80s, 70s, 60s, you have disco. Literally, I can go on and on and on, and I can continue to name multiple genres that make up the music that we hear on film and TV. So again, the question, is it easier to get your music on film and TV? No, it's not. It's just as difficult, and in some situations can be even harder because again, you have to actually find a library that represents the type of music that you make the best and then actually get music placed in that library. And then you have to hopefully, hope that a music supervisor that's working on a project is looking for your particular music with a particular library, right? So again, I don't want you all to get the misconception or the idea that just because, you're maybe not landing placements with your favorite artist that you can just easily jump into the sync licensing world and say, hey, I'm going to make this work since I can't do, this. Another personal controversial take that I heard somebody talk about when we're talking about music on film and TV is that the beats that you hear on TV are worse than the beats that you hear your major, artists rapping over. And I would 100% disagree. In a lot of different instances, the music that you hear on scores and movie films and soundtracks are much more intricate. They're much bigger projects than a hip hop project would ever come close to, right? A lot of you all that make hip hop beats, even like myself included, the maximum amount of tracks that you might even see within a project, you might see 12, 15 max, right? In a traditional cinematic score, you can have anywhere north of 30, 40, 50, 60 tracks, individual line insert items or instrument items that you will see in your DAW, right? That doesn't mean that it's harder to make, but it means that it's a much more intricate process. So I don't want you all to think that just because you want to get your music on film and TV that you have to make these super simple beats, because at the end of the day, sometimes it can just be one button click, like a one button cue, right? Where you just you find the right preset or you design the right synth sound, and you press the key and it's perfect, right? In other situations, it might take you a couple days to come up with a cue or to come up with a concept that actually fits and works for film and TV. Now, again, don't get me wrong, there are definitely songs that you hear on TV that are super, super simple. But again, there are also, on the flip side, there are songs that we hear on the radio that are like, man, I could have done that in my sleep. I could slap a loop together. I can throw some drums on top of a loop, right? So again, I don't want you all to get this misconception or this false idea that it's easier to get your music on film and TV, because in reality, it's not. If you're interested in getting your music on film and TV and you're not quite sure where to start, take a look at this video over here. I think I even have a playlist over here somewhere. Take a look at that to figure out where to start, maybe get an idea or a post on the terminology that you need to understand at first, and even understand the type of contracts, whether there's an exclusive or non-exclusive library that you want to have your music be a part of. All right, y'all. Peace.